want to have a video here to go over this homework in case you struggled on story problems or needed some help. So remember, with story problems, you're always looking for a total, and you're going to divide it by a part or a piece, and then the question will always ask about the part or the piece. So if you're looking for the question will always ask about the part or the piece. It's asking how many of those parts or pieces would be in the total. So she has 6 yards of ribbon. That's the total amount she has, and she's going to cut it into pieces that are 3/4 yard. That's your piece. The question here: how many of those 3/4 yard pieces of ribbon is she going to have? So the total is 6. So you're going to start with 6. You're going to divide it by 3/4, which is your part or piece. So that means there will be 8 of those 3/4 pieces into 6. The tricky part here is it looks like they give you 3 numbers, but they don't. They only give you 2. 6 is your total, and then 3/4 is your part. They just restate that part in the question. The question is asking about that part. And so 6 divided by 3/4 equals 8. The math would be 6 over 1. Instead of dividing by 3/4, you're going to multiply by its reciprocal, which is 4 over 3. Simplify and multiply. You can divide both of these by 3. This becomes a 1 and this becomes a 2. 2 times 4 is 8 over 1, which is where they're getting the 8 for that example. The next story problem is talking about this Eve, and she's drinking 3/16 gallons of milk each day. This is a clue that tells us, since it's each day that she's doing it, that this number is our part. It's asking how many days will it take Eve to drink the 3 gallons of milk. Well, your 3 gallons of milk is your total, and she's going to be drinking the 3/16 each day, so that's your part. So you need to take 3 and divide by 3/16. A problem that kids have here is they try to take the 3/16 thinking that's their total, and then divide by 3, and they have their numbers mixed up. So your total 3 divided by 3/16 equals 16. It will take Eve 16 days to drink the 3 gallons of milk. So the total 3, which is 3 over 1, instead of dividing by 3/16, you're going to multiply by its reciprocal, which is 16 over 3. Simplify and multiply. Your 3's are both going to simplify down to 1 because you're going to divide them both by 3. And so 1 times 16 is how you get 16 over 1, which is 16 for your answer. This story problem here is a little tricky because there's extra parts to it. Joanne has 3 sheets of wallpaper, and they're going to say that each sheet of wallpaper has an area of 12 square feet. So like if she only had 1 sheet, the area would be 12 in it, and she's going to cut the wallpaper into 1/3 square foot pieces. So if she just had 1 sheet, 12, she'd be cutting it into 1/3 pieces. She would have 36 total. But she doesn't just have 1 sheet, she has 3 sheets. So 3 sheets, instead of having 12, you need to take it times 3, would be like having 36 total square feet. And then so, and the same thing here is if you took 36 times 3, you would have the 108 pieces altogether. So another way to look at that is instead of just having 12 square feet with 1 sheet, 12 was for 1 sheet. If you take that times 3, then that's the type of area she would have for 3 sheets. So that would equal 36, and that would be for 3 sheets. But then you need to take the 36 and you need to cut it into 1/3 pieces. So 36, and now you're dividing that by 1/3. Well, dividing by 1/3 is actually the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So that's like saying 36 times, what's this reciprocal? 1 over 3 would be 3 over 1, or just saying 3. 36 times 3, that's where I'm getting the 108 pieces altogether. The last story problem, the group of children are sharing 11 3/7 vegetarian pizzas. Each child receives 10/14 of a pizza. So see how it says each child? This is your clue that this is the part, which means this is how much pizza they're sharing. So that number would be your total. Divide by this part. You'll figure out how many children are in the group. So I've already changed the mixed numbers into an improper fraction. 11 3/7. When I take 11 times 7, that's where I get 77, and when I add 3, that's where I get 80 over 7. So I'm changing this mixed number to an improper fraction, and then I'm going to divide it by 10/14. This is my part because that's what each child receives. This is the part. And when you take 87 divided by 10/14, the math on that, 87 is actually multiplying by its reciprocal, which is 14 over 10. Simplify your diagonals. You can divide both by 7. This becomes 1. This becomes 2. So we've made them much smaller. You can simplify 80 and 10. 10. Divide them both by 10. This becomes 1. This becomes 8. Much smaller. 8 times 2 is 16 over 1. So there'd be 16 children in the group. Just in case you got a weird answer like 16 and a half, whenever you're talking about people, you wouldn't want to say 16 and a half people. You would just want to say you could feed 16 people. You don't quite have enough to feed another person, and you don't want to try to feed half of a person. So this example, it came out as a whole number, but if you ever had a fraction, make sure you would round down and not try to say 16 and a half people. You just say 16. So that should help you with the story problems.